Hello friends, today we are going to learn the anatomy of the pectoral region. Pectoral region is the anterior aspect of the thorax, the chest. It includes muscles that connect upper limb to the anterolateral chest wall and the mammary gland which secrete milk in females. Now let's see important surface landmarks of the pectoral region. Here you can see the clavicle, which is palpable throughout its length as it is located subcutaneously, and the suprasternal notch or the jugular notch. It is a palpable notch located on the upper border of the manubrium between the medial ends of two clavicles, and 5 centimeters below the notch there is a transverse ridge present called the sternal angle or the angle of Lewis. It gives attachment to the second rib, thus it forms an important surface landmark to identify the second rib and subsequently count down the ribs. And next, the infraclavicular fossa, which is a triangular depression located below the junction of the medial 2/3 and lateral 1/3 of the clavicle. And if you press against this fossa, you can feel the tip of coracoid process, which is located 2.5 centimeters below the clavicle. Next, the nipple. It is an important surface feature of the pectoral region. It varies considerably in females, whereas in males it usually lies in the fourth intercostal space. This is to make you orient towards the surface landmarks. Here you can see the clavicle. This is the suprasternal notch, and here is the sternal angle. Here you can see the tip of coracoid process, which is present at the infraclavicular fossa, and next the nipple. Coming to the lines of orientation, these lines are often used to describe the surface features of the pectoral region. First, the mid-sternal line. It runs vertically downwards in the median plane in front of the sternum. Next, the mid-clavicular lines, the left and right mid-clavicular lines. They run vertically from the midpoint of clavicle to the midinguinal point below. Next, the anterior and posterior axillary lines. They run vertically from the anterior and posterior axillary folds respectively, and the mid-axillary line, which runs vertically downwards in the midway between the anterior and posterior axillary folds. Coming to the cutaneous innervation. Based on the cutaneous innervation, the pectoral region is divided into two parts, above the level of sternal angle and below the level of sternal angle. Above, it is supplied by the supraclavicular nerves with the root value C3 to C4, and below it is supplied by the anterior and lateral cutaneous branches of the intercostal nerves with the root value T2 to T6. Here you can see the anterior and lateral cutaneous nerves. Next, the dermatomes of the pectoral region. You can see here the horizontal line passing through the sternal angle. Above, it is supplied by C3 and C4, and below from T2 to T6. Here you can see the C4 and T2 spinal segments meet directly, because from the C5 to T1 they supply the upper limb in form of brachial plexus. Next, the muscles of pectoral region. This includes pectoralis major, minor and subclavius. Coming to serratus anterior, it is not a muscle of pectoral region but grouped with the pectoral muscles for convenience of study and surgical significance. First, let's see the pectoralis major. Here you can see pectoralis major, and it has origin from two heads, the clavicular head and the sternocostal head. The clavicular head arises from the anterior surface of the medial 2/3 of clavicle, whereas the sternocostal head takes origin from three parts: the lateral part of the anterior surface of sternum, and the costal cartilages of second to sixth ribs, and finally the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle. From these three parts, the sternocostal head takes origin, and they inserts onto the lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus in bilaminar manner. Here you can see the anterior lamina formed by the clavicular fibers and posterior lamina formed by the sternocostal fibers. Here you can see the twisting of the fibers such a way that the lower fibers are inserted onto the upper part and the upper fibers are inserted onto the lower part. On the lower junction, the anterior lamina unites with the posterior lamina to form a U-shaped tendon. Here you can see the U-shaped tendon. Such a way it inserts onto the lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus. Here you can see the cadaveric specimen of pectoralis major. With the help of this, you can easily identify the muscle. They may pin this structure and ask the nerve supply of the muscle or the origin and insertion. The nerve supply is from the medial and lateral pectoral nerves, and you can see the origin from the clavicular fibers and the sternocostal fibers. From the medial 2/3 of clavicle, the sternum, the costal cartilages, and the external oblique muscle aponeurosis, and insertion is on the lateral lip of intertubercular sulcus. Here you can see clearly the two lamina, the anterior lamina and the posterior lamina. This is the clavicular fibers and sternocostal fibers. Here you can see the twisting. The lower fibers goes upward and the upper fibers goes downwards. Coming to the actions of pectoralis major, both the heads together they adduct the arm Here you can see adduction. They move the arm closer to the body and medially rotates the arm. They rotates the arm in a medial side. Whereas acting alone, the clavicular head alone will flex the arm. They will flex the arm. The sternocostal head alone will be extends the flexed arm. It will extend the flexed arm. Next, a clinical testing of the pectoralis major. Here you can see the testing of clavicular head and the sternocostal head. To test the clavicular head, the arm is abducted in 90 degrees. Here you can see the 90 degrees abduction of arm, and it is adducted against a resistance. Here the resistance is offered by the person's hand, and the arm is adducted against the resistance from a 90 degrees abduction, and you can feel the clavicular head and you can palpate it. Coming to the sternocostal head, here arm is abducted only 60 degrees and it is adducted against the resistance, and you can see and palpate the sternocostal head. Coming to pectoralis minor. Pectoralis minor is a small triangular muscle. It takes origin from 3rd, 4th, 5th ribs near the costal cartilages and gets inserted onto the medial border and superior surface of the coracoid process. The origin of pectoralis minor may be variable, that is, it may be prefixed, where it takes origin from 2nd to 5th ribs, or postfixed, it takes origin from 4th to 6th ribs. Rarely, some fibers of pectoralis minor is separated and extends from the first rib to the coracoid process, and the fibers are termed as pectoralis minimus muscle. Pectoralis minor is called the key muscle of pectoral region as it crosses the axillary artery and divides it into 3 parts: before the muscle, behind the muscle, and after the muscle. Coming to the nerve supply of the pectoralis minor, it is supplied by medial and lateral pectoral nerves. And actions: it draws the scapula forwards along with the serratus anterior, and it depresses the shoulder point, and it also aids in the forced inspiration. Here you can see the cadaveric specimen of the pectoralis minor taking origin from 3rd, 4th, 5th ribs and inserting onto the coracoid process. Next, the subclavius. It is a small muscle that takes origin from the first costochondral junction and inserts onto the inferior surface of middle 1/3 part of the clavicle, where the subclavian groove is present. Coming to its nerve supply, it is supplied by nerve to subclavius, which is a branch of upper trunk of brachial plexus. Coming to its actions, it provides stability to the clavicle during movements of the upper limb. Here is a muscle variant of subclavius. It is subclavius posticus, which is an accessory muscle in the root of neck, lying between the subclavius muscle and the inferior belly of Homo hyoid. The incidence of it is 7.5%, and it is associated with thoracic outlet syndrome and Paget-Schroeder syndrome. This will be discussed later. Here you can see the subclavius muscle cadaveric specimen taking origin from the first costochondral junction and inserting onto the inferior surface of middle part of clavicle. Here also you can see it, which is pointed with the forceps. This is the subclavius muscle. Next, the serratus anterior. It arises by a series of 8 digitations. The first digitation, which takes origin from the upper 2 ribs, and the next 7 digitations takes origin from the corresponding ribs. It also takes origin from the intervening intercostal muscles, fascia, the fascia covering the intervening intercostal muscles, and it travels on the lateral wall of chest and inserts onto the medial border of the scapula. The first digitation inserts from the superior angle to the spine of scapula, and the next 2 digitations on the lower part of the medial border, whereas the lower 5 digitations on the costal aspect of the inferior angle. Coming to its nerve supply, it is supplied by long thoracic nerve or nerve to serratus anterior with a root value of C5, C6 and C7. Coming to its actions, it is a powerful protractor of scapula. It pulls scapula forward around the chest wall for pushing and punching movements as required during boxing. So it is also called the boxer's muscle. And it keeps the medial border or the vertebral border of scapula in firm contact with the chest wall. Coming to its lower 5 digitations, along with the lower part of trapezius, they rotate the scapula laterally upwards during the overhead abduction of the arm. Here you can see the protraction of scapula by serratus anterior, and this is the lateral rotation, rotating the scapula upwards by lower part of trapezius and serratus anterior during the overhead abduction of the arm. Here you can see the cadaveric specimen of serratus anterior. These are digitations of serratus anterior. Here these are dissected and separated. Here you can see the long thoracic nerve also. Coming to the paralysis of serratus anterior, this may be due to an injury to the long thoracic nerve, which gives motor supply to the serratus anterior. It may be damaged due to stab injury or during removal of breast tumor. This may lead to following effects. The protraction of scapula is weakened, and the inferior angle and the medial border is become prominent, unduly prominent. We have already mentioned that the medial border is in firm contact with the chest wall due to serratus anterior. Because of its paralysis, this becomes unduly prominent. When a person pushes against a wall, if he pushes against the wall, this becomes unduly prominent. This is not seen in a normal person. Next, let's see some muscle variants. Here you can see the pectoralis minimus, which I have already told. It extends from the first rib to the coracoid process. These are separated fibers of the pectoralis minor. This is the cadaveric specimen of pectoralis minimus. Next, the subclavius posticus, which is a muscle variant of subclavius muscle. It takes origin from the first costochondral junction, but inserts onto some part of the scapula, not on the clavicle. Here you can see. This is subclavius, which is normal and inserting onto the clavicle, whereas subclavius posticus is inserting onto the part of processes of scapula. Right. In this session, I have discussed the surface landmarks, lines of orientation, the cutaneous innervation, dermatomes, muscles, and muscle variants of the pectoral region. In my next session, I will be discussing the deltopectoral groove, deltopectoral triangle, the pectoral fascia, the clavipectoral fascia, its cores, attachments, and the structures passing. Please kindly watch it. Thank you.